has made some strong adaptations. And that's a recognition that he needs to even push himself further. We've already talked extensively about how close RAISY has come to the title, and the fact he's radically changing his setup, he's radically changing his approach to the game, really does suggest he wasn't feeling confident that what he was playing with and what was at his disposal was enough to win. So you got to credit that commitment to the cause to go that above and beyond to win. But let's look at the here and now. We do have that Athena on Awoken up against cha1n's Ranger. I'm personally a huge fan of the Ranger on this map, but we know how powerful the Athena can be as he goes swinging in, completely catching cha1n off guard with the rocket to the face there. Not the worst start, and cha1n doesn't even get the heavy. Potential mistiming. Ouch. That really does hurt. He does get himself a Mega though, but he has burned the orb, and Scenic has got all of the grapples up once again. RAISY has all the weaponry. cha1n does also, and that rail will nullify the tempo of RAISY just a little bit. Second good one from cha1n, and that really does bode well. I mentioned it in the intro, but the rail is such a critical weapon for everyone, but particularly for cha1n. If that rail clicks, he becomes scary. He builds in confidence, and a lot of his decisions are also based around the rail. So when they're not hitting, he really does lose his momentum and begin to second guess himself, and leaves himself vulnerable as well. So it's good to see already that the rails are connecting, and you can see the mentality shift of RAISY as well. Because of the damage output of cha1n, he's not able to play aggressive. He is stable though. They're trading items, something cha1n is more than happy to do. RAISY with this heavy, cha1n pretty much on the same timing with the Mega, saying that he does delay it, and RAISY recognizing that tries to scoot on through. Not the cleanest, very aggressive up the jump pad. Got to question what was going on there. The first failed maneuver was fine, but to follow it up, going up the jump pad, not so much. Not even sure why he would have attempted that. cha1n was more than in position and expecting it as well. Had a mild Mega to fall back on, so RAISY might not even be able to compete with this heavy. If I was in cha1n's position, I would be pushing it. That's exactly what's going on here, but somehow RAISY turns that around, and I don't even know how. I don't even think that connection of the orb did anything. This time, he is now caught as he tries to play George of the Jungle a little bit too much, having a bit of fun with his grapples, and it's come back to haunt him. cha1n in the better position. He's got the weaponry he needs as well. So RAISY will retreat. Doesn't have any armor to work with. Good use of the rocket jump. Want to see a little bit more of that to keep the pressure on the Athena. But saying that, RAISY just goes on in and bounces his opponent around with a couple of clean rockets from above. Finally, RAISY hits that third or fourth time trying. Gets himself a Mega. Still 0-0, 0-0, 3 minutes in. A little bit unusual, despite how much action we've had. You know, obviously we've had 2 frags, but still 0-0. The orb comes in this time. Connection to the face, good recognition from cha1n, and he plays a good Ranger. You have to think, this is one of the earlier champions he really did push his specialization towards, and so really nice connection with the orb. Another play built off that rail though. So this is something RAISY has to find an adjustment for, because cha1n is connecting with that rail, and so RAISY has to respect that a little bit more, I'm feeling. First time cha1n POV as well. No crazy goggles on today as we saw back in the day, so maybe he is playing a little bit more serious. And his position's been really, really strong. He's not afraid of RAISY. He's happy for him to engage. And he's dealing with the pressure well, because it has been a lot of pressure from RAISY. Once again, the rocket comes out, but RAISY's going in again! Another questionable play after eating that rail. cha1n is managing this. But one of the factors cha1n has always struggled with, in my opinion, ever since he was playing as good as he was, is building that pressure. And can he follow these plays up? Can he keep on suffocating his opponent? Because what I feel he does struggle with is really locking down the map. He gives his opponent a lot of breathing room, so I want to see him go aggressive within reason, but he doesn't give too much of an opening to RAISY, because he has got the map in the palm of his hand. RAISY going in again, but he's missed out. cha1n has just got no weaponry available. Swap into that rocket. Doesn't realize he's out of ammo. RAISY recognizing that, going in, but doesn't finish him off. And works out okay for cha1n. He is weak, you have to look at RAISY's play though and ask, you know, what is the thought process here? Because he just seems to be going too aggressive, and I don't want to hark back to the famous Cooler quote, but he has to learn from 2007 strengths. Now, cha1n on the back foot, he's more than happy to play defensive. Problem is that RAISY does have literally everything to work with, and he goes flying through the side of the map. He's just having way too much fun on this Athena in week 17 of the QPL. Sitting pretty in fourth, and I think he's more than content with that. Big shotgun to the face, but RAISY actually comes off worth for wear once again. I don't think he realizes he's playing a light champion. And there you go, following it up. There's still 4 minutes to go, a long time. And RAISY's in a decent position. He's got the map on lockdown, and cha1n isn't showing face, which could be concerning. We've already seen how willing RAISY is to go in aggressive, and once again he's trying to do so with these hooks, showing everyone how to play Athena. He's actually beginning to pull them off, so he's catching his rhythm, and there's a lovely little rail through the grate. I know everybody is worried about Flea. We did see him, but he's been having some TeamSpeak problems, so I'm just clarifying that. Seems that he didn't crash, and I couldn't hear him. I don't know if any of you guys heard him. I don't know if he's even in the server. So as soon as he's back, I'm sure he will begin to speak. Otherwise, you guys are just stuck with this lovely ZSX ASMR for at least this map. And we will get him back in the action as soon as we can. So we are 3-3 with 3 minutes to go on this map. Map 1 of 3, obviously. cha1n needs the victory, honestly, more than RAISY. We have cha1n versus Sparty as well later in the day, which is the decisive one, but that is painful. The pummel to the face, and RAISY is just looking more and more confident this map is going on. As I say that, once again, the overconfidence from RAISY comes out, and cha1n manages to get a frag, but it's still 5-4. Huge rockets coming out, catching RAISY off guard, but RAISY is there once again to drop down on cha1n. The execution of the rail is good from cha1n. The rest of the weaponry today so far have not been the best. And now it's beginning to feel like momentum is very much gone from cha1n. His soul is slipping away with 2 minutes to go. RAISY has got both major items. He hasn't let one slip for a while. We've seen cha1n try and bully them. He's in position for the heavy, but why? There's well over 10 seconds to go, and at that point, you're giving up a frag. You just cannot afford to make that level of fundamental position mistakes against the likes of RAISY. And the RAISY is carrying on, controlling the map, patrolling the map. It does feel inevitable that a victory is coming his way, but what else is inevitable is that we do have another caster in the room. But unfortunately, or fortunately, I'll let you guys decide, it's not Flea. Hello, Lethal.
Hello, Dan, mate. I thought I'd pop in and just do a tad bit of cover just to see exactly what all the fuss was all about. But yeah, I'm going to crack on anyway and see what's been going on. But RAISY still looking very good at the moment. Minute 15 left remaining. Still 2 frag deficit on cha1n's side. But cha1n's doing pretty damn well considering it's the first map.
I mean, he's doing okay. He's not getting steamrolled. I'm sorry to drag you away from your tea or whatever you were doing, my friend.
How dare you?
He's played well. His rail has been connecting. But RAISY has just been having way too much fun with the Athena, and cha1n has struggled to really contain the aggression when it's come out and been executed well, as most players would. But again, for me, it's been another case of a situation where as soon as the rail doesn't begin to hit and as soon as cha1n loses full control, what a rocket that was! He just hasn't found a way back into this map.
It certainly hasn't indeed, and time's running out, 30 seconds left, and let's be real here, RAISY is the one with a huge stack advantage, and with the Athena just to make matters worse with that get out jail free card depending on the verticality. But cha1n, I think it's like you said though, hasn't been steamrolled, which is a good sign to say the least. There's plenty of times we've seen that again and again as cha1n now pick up the mega with 10 seconds left remaining. He's going to try and do a little bit more if he can. He has to have a desperate act. 37 HP. He's going to try and flank around. RAISY's more than ready for it. And there we have it. That first map going to RAISY.
Yeah, it was an unusual map. You could definitely feel RAISY obviously respecting, but also experimenting with his play. Athena is not something he picks a lot. It's obviously a great pick on virtually any map, but the way in which RAISY was playing and the maneuvers he was pulling out, definitely trying to push the limits of what was possible, understand the angles, understand how they use the grapples most effectively. And whilst there were some epic fails, I don't know how that didn't kill RAISY. Whilst there were some epic fails, there were also some really snazzy plays as well, to bring out my boomer terminology. And yeah, RAISY's looking good. I have to feel a little bit sorry for cha1n because you can see him trying damn hard. But like stuff like that, like what can you do when you're in cha1n's situation? So well played, RAISY.
Yeah, it's not really a huge amount, which is perfectly understandable. But for cha1n, I kind of quite happy that there wasn't a huge deficit between the scoreline. If it was, it could have been a totally different story going to maps 2 and 3. I think there's a lot of assumptions to be made here, and we have to talk about the hit percentage as well. 59% for RAISY there, and quite a fair amount of damage too. And I've noticed that quite a few players have relied more on the rockets than the LG. Again, you can see 1110 damage for RAISY with the rockets there. Also, we've seen Wenger played more of a balanced game as well. RAISY's playing a slightly more balanced game also. It was always about aggression for most of these players, but it seems like they're trying to tackle the aggression here, Dan.
Yeah, all in all, it actually was quite a low-scoring game, but you're right. The Rockets are always going to be crucial. I think, when you're looking at the pure stats, the damage output from the rail from RAISY was pretty critical. It began to drop off from cha1n. He was definitely connecting a lot more with the rail in the start of the game, but as the pressure began to mount from RAISY's side, you definitely saw that accuracy begin to slip. And again, 70% for the Rocket. You don't often look at statistics for Rocket because it's a heavy spam base, but you definitely saw in some of these close combat fights that cha1n was not connecting with the Rockets he should have been connecting with. So those small mechanical errors have haunted cha1n in his history of the QPL. And you just saw it come to light here again today. It was a map he definitely could have won the way in which RAISY was playing. He was vulnerable on the Athena. So unfortunate for cha1n there. It's not a map you would expect him to win. This isn't a series he's banking on to get him out of that lower end of the bracket. He's playing Sparty later in the day. But it's still, a map you reflect on and say, he probably could have won that.
Yeah, a little bit rough, but Deep Embrace is going to be next up with the Anarchy versus the Slash, which I still find debatable, but very interesting. RAISY played on the Slash, I believe, a couple weeks ago, and I think that he was on stream. He was using the Slash like consistently the entire time, and he wants to give it another try here, Dan. He wants to give it another try, so that'll be interesting in itself. And Vale, again, another match I look forward to with the Aizen versus Kill. Two champions, I think, are heavily picked on this map in particular, but normally we see a Galena against one of these two, don't we? Or maybe a Sorlag, but it seems like it's going to be a tad bit different this time here, Dan. But going to the second map now, what's your thoughts on the Slash?
I think Flea was in the midst of analysing it before he decided he had enough of me and bolted. I think the Slash is difficult to, I guess, maximize on a map like Deep, just because it's quite clunky in terms of there's so many ledges and nooks and crannies and areas to get caught. But I've seen it perfected and I've seen it really excel in practice. And so this is definitely another area that RAISY is picking this champion up. Having played it a lot, obviously, that's the way RAISY works. He's probably got a RAISY Slash account as he nightly does for virtually everything else. But it's a champion we haven't seen a lot on this map in professional play. And so it's difficult to execute. And that's why I'm excited to see if he can play it and play it well. We know how powerful the Slash is. And let's see how well he can do it in this particular one.
Yeah, he tried before. I can't remember from the top of my head if he won that matchup or not, but we'll find out soon enough anyway. And apologies for looking like a bit of a mess for you, Dan, of course, last minute, but at least we're here to continue things forward by any means necessary.
You got the glasses, everything. Where's the contacts, mate?
Mate, I was just chilling watching the stream when I had all the specs on. I was like, oh, okay, Flea's gone.
You just saw Flea go super lethal come charging to save it. Ready, wait, bang.
Mate. You know me, I try, but yeah, lucky it was around, I suppose. It's one of those things, really.
Well, thank you, Lethal. I hope you have your credit. You're giving up your Saturday to come sit with me, have some banter, watch some Quake.
More, mate.
Yes, casually chilling, watch some Quake together. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. But we have some work to do as well, which is analysing and giving everyone on the stream a good old show. And we're starting on cha1n's POV, who's hopefully going to be giving us the content to talk about big rockets coming out. As I say that, 2 good rockets into 2 very poor rockets, and the speed of the slash was just too much.
Indeed, good start from RAISY already, but cha1n, got any armor to his name, still trying to collect all the weapons in his arsenal to continue this bout, but at least he's got positional advantage, even with the rockets, probably the best ever to be at, but it's going to take more than just one more rail here in order to try and take RAISY down. Heavy's up, and RAISY's going to be prioritising that straight away. With the Mega coming in the next 5, he could still contest this if he likes, but it's going to go down top mid instead of underneath, which is perfectly understandable.
And we said, you know, how effective is RAISY going to be on the slash? Just look how scary the slash is. You know, particularly in the likes of an Anarchy, when you're a light champion with no stack, the slash can get in your face and demolish you before you know what's going on. And this is exactly what's happening. RAISY makes the slash look like he's been playing it on this map since it was released.
Unbelievable, Dan. Unbelievable. Already 3-0 and it's only just been a minute mark so far. Makes up in the next few seconds. RAISY's got a huge stack to work with. He can do exactly how he pleases. So gonna have to pick that up. No challenge from cha1n. Again, perfectly understandable. Just trying to bait cha1n out a little bit before he pursues towards the heavy. Good call with the gauntlet as well. And finish up with the shot. Love a bit of flair, Dan. Love it.
Yeah. The other problem is when it's being played so flawlessly, the pressure to execute mounts on cha1n. And he's already, unfortunately, been sloppy at times in terms of execution, and so this is making it even harder. We've already seen a couple of pushes from RAISY's point of view that just have gone unpunished. 4-0, 2 minutes in, and here's another frag. Undoubtedly, as I say that, RAISY deciding to make it as messy as possible. Should have actually died in that situation. Unfortunate for cha1n, and it is now 5-0. Plenty of time for the heavy as well.
I've been loving how he's been playing Slash this map so far. I still think it's debatable even the second time round, but he's making good use of it so far. Baiting a lot of his audio cues out to keep cha1n guessing where he could be and where he could be going in terms of creating that decision tree from top mid. But to drop down here, certainly should do, considering the stack advantage he has. He's going to clean up with the shoddy. Yes, he does. 6-0 here.
Yeah, there's 2 things. I think firstly, cha1n had way too much respect for RAISY in that situation. Partly because he didn't have a timing, I'm assuming, but the fact he did hit a great rail to RAISY before the heavy and didn't follow it up, a good 10 seconds before the heavy spawn, was confusing. And then secondly, RAISY just has 0 respect for cha1n. He is just going into cha1n's face with whatever weapon he has in his hand at that time and just issuing a challenge, you know. You either kill me or I kill you. There is no other way about this. And at the moment, RAISY is the one coming out on top.
It certainly is. In terms of the items department, only 1 item in favour of cha1n. RAISY's picked up 10 so far, so he's been a bit of an animal in terms of having that map control and item control here, of course, with the segregation of the timing so early on. But it looks like cha1n is slowly being able to keep up a much bigger stack here. He's able to keep up the rails as well, and this is exactly what was required in order to keep the pressure onto RAISY here. Well, it took a little bit more damage than he would like. He gets down here, that should be huge, but instead takes himself out after the gauntlet play from RAISY with the shenanigans he's showing. But cha1n, at least he's continuing to frag deficit, can easily come back depending on the circumstances.
Nice from cha1n. He's now beginning to man up against RAISY, potentially finding his feet in this map. Obviously, very much rattled by that start of the game, but he's slowly getting his way into it. His red is beginning to connecting, and we've seen it time and time again. When that happens, you definitely see a shift in confidence and attitude from the Canadian. And it's happening again. He's hit some great rails and stringing them together. And RAISY, will we see a little bit more respect from his side? I doubt it, but it will give cha1n more leverage in these fights.
So indeed, cha1n still able to get a little bit of pressure on there, picking up the heavy and also collecting his items up. Still hasn't picked up 1 single mega yet, which is okay for now, but this deep into the game makes you wonder really. So now we're just at the halfway stage. RAISY Was reliable, but just picked up the light up top, so he's able to keep his distance for the time being. If he's up for the next 7 seconds, looks like both players have decided to prep for earlier, Dan, but RAISY did have a slight advantage in terms of height. He's going to drop down with the LG, but after that 85 from the previous rocket and still takes him out straight after, that's going to be a 2-frag deficit as I say that, and cha1n looking much better in the second half.
Yes, indeed, and there is a huge split between the items now. RAISY is just so early, he has no idea when the timing is, potentially just praying cha1n doesn't hit a single rail. And cha1n did hit 2 rails, in fact. 5-4, RAISY is only just up, and has actually not looked like he's been threatening cha1n now for a good 2 minutes after cha1n has stabilized. So really well played by cha1n to get back into this one. It could have just snowballed away from him. But we have seen a different side to RAISY as well.
Certainly have done. The cha1n. Lovely the aggression from him, considering he could have actually just sat by the mega, but RAISY is able to capitalize that, especially with the trail. Do you know what? I had a feeling you were going to say that. I just knew straight away. It's another rail, but it does get away.
Yeah, that's one where, you know, bullshit is vindicated. Like, no way he should get away with that. And somehow he does. And cha1n has a right to be angry, but has to compose himself because there are still 4 minutes to go. And he has been doing a good job to get back into this game. And RAISY really does seem like he's lost a little bit of his temperament and his awareness, so needs to regain that, get his timings back, just get into a smoother rhythm. Time now to make this one advance onto the heavy, and he is doing that. cha1n is there, has to pray nothing connects, but this time it does.
Walking over the LG once again. That's a place cha1n did not want to be at on spawn. Dropping down from the LG. Oh, just barely missed the rail, and surely that would have been another frag to the name of RAISY. Makes up the next couple of seconds. cha1n also realizes, but even though he's got an angle, he's definitely not in a position to collect it either, so he has to pull all the way back. The side has actually pushed top mid towards him with the rockets. And RAISY's more than happy to take that fight all day, every day. Heavy's up for the next second, prioritising the frag instead. Just to keep him at bay, keep his distance as well. Picks up the heavy, and now he's more than ready to fight.
Yeah, the real challenge for cha1n is just these close combat fights. You know, I don't think we've seen him win a single one, and obviously it's incredibly difficult to go up against a Slash, but there's definitely been times where he had more than an advantage and still comes out second best. So that is a huge area of concern, because it's exactly what RAISY is exporting. You know, whether it's deliberately, strategically or not, it's what he's doing. He's just pushing into cha1n's face, and cha1n isn't doing anywhere near enough work in those situations.
He certainly isn't, and that 77 rockets looking out at all. It's going to extend it to 11. 2 minutes left remaining, almost out of the realms of possibility considering the way RAISY's playing at the moment. But cha1n, yeah, he's having none of that at all. He's backing off straight away as soon as physically possible. He's going to work his way round. We're going to try and use that tribot to, even if he picks up the heavy, at what cost? I think that's going to be the next question. At least around 80 damage there. Just to pick up that heavy, and he's just biding his time. He's got atomic control. He knows that cha1n has to come to him. If anything, some good wheels from both players. The problem is, though, cha1n still directly. I mean, his Mega's up in the next second. 10 HP left for RAISY. He'll be able to get away. Could be able to, but beautiful round from cha1n, but just a little bit too late for my liking.
Yeah, definitely too late at this point. Yeah, it's a quick map. They are 2 quick champions, but there is no chance in hell, unfortunately, that cha1n is getting this comeback going. Really unusual match. Definitely not the level of aggression you often see, even though it is a fast-paced map. To get into the face of your opponent as much as RAISY was doing is definitely unusual. So it was interesting to see, and cha1n, once again, he was struggling with that. When he gets into his own rhythm, play his distance game, can methodically work his way into the set, that's when he was looking strong. But RAISY introduced a chaos factor, and it just absolutely blew that strategy apart.
cha1n now just diving on in. I was going to say see you later to RAISY, but instead cha1n, it was nice of him, wasn't it, really?
Yeah, I was going to say, you should have just watched it in slow motion.
Yeah, just
watch him
bathing
drown
in its goodness. Yeah, exactly. was kind of open for that, but oh well. You know, it's good enough. Just try a little bit more flair again. 15 seconds left. 5 frag deficit. The only thing we can say, you know, a couple of mistakes from cha1n here and there to his aggression on spawn, but apart from that, no, at least he kept the scores reasonably respectable compared to, or at least as competitive as possible. Kind of like the first map as well. So it's going to be 12-6 in favour of RAISY and currently 2-0 in the series here, Dan.
Yeah. Not a lot of respect from RAISY's side. Definitely not a usual play style there. So, but RAISY feeling confident, let's put it that way. Feeling good about himself, at least. He's now secured himself a 2-0. It's a fairly meaningless result in the leaderboard side of things, but obviously not meaningless in terms of prize money and not meaningless in terms of mentality. And we have to also reflect on the fact that cha1n has to play later for something that is important. He's going up against Sparty to determine who goes up slightly higher in the rankings, and that will be decisive when we come to the finals, because it's the difference between playing a top-ranked seed and a mid-ranked seed. So, irrespective of what happens in this final map, what cha1n needs to do is just keep his head held high, because he cannot afford to lose that one. The big thing for me, as I've mentioned it time and time again, is just cha1n unable to cope in close combat situations. His rail was definitely much better, and you can see again statistically 1800 damage with the rail, so really nicely played there. But there was some really poor execution with the rocket. Thinking back to that first frag, you know, lovely air rocket up the jump pad, and then 2 completely whiffed shots cost him his own death. They're the small margin for errors you just can't afford to have.
Yeah, sucks a little bit for cha1n. We know that he's got the potential to, you know, make some magic happen. We saw it last year. Of course, he's a little bit of a downturn this year. He's kind of stabilised in the placement he's in at the moment. But we'll see what happens going in this third map. Like you said, every point matters. Every map matters at this stage to determine to get top 8 seed, top 16 seed, etc. So the higher the better in terms of like who will play against at QuakeCon. But your thoughts here, Dan, going to this last mate? It will be on Veil. Normally when we see a kill, yeah, exactly. Like, you know, with the kill pick as well and the Eisen. Normally when you see an Eisen or kill, you normally see like a Galena versus the Eisen, or if you see a kill, normally face up against a Sorlag, for example. It's quite interesting that we're going to see both Eisen and kill in the same matchup here.
Yeah, but they're both very, very strong in their own right on this particular map. They're both absolutely stable picks. Definitely Keel has fallen off slightly. It's crept back in again over the course of the season, particularly in the last 3 weeks, as people are shifting things around. No, not at all, but who cares about 40? And the Ison, we just know it's a staple pick pretty much week in, week out on Veil if you want to pick it. Comfortable pick. The vanilla movement turret is always useful. But going up against one another, it's a bit awkward for the Keel, in all honesty. As a bigger champion, that turret can get in your way. It can block the pineapples if you use it smartly. So the Ison is definitely useful against the Keel, and we know the Keel is just a tank that throws grenades at you. So you know what you're going to get out of that. Interesting to see how RAISY plays it. So far this series, he's played aggressive and in your face. And Keel, he doesn't mind doing that. So I'm expecting more of the same from RAISY's point of view.
Yeah, Keel is a big boy here, Dan, an absolute machine. And with the Eisen pick though as well, especially holding up top control, or sorry, top mega, or the tribal area, especially with the turret, it's going to make things a little bit easier for him, because without having to face against a Galena, he doesn't need to be on his toes too much in that rail area. So we'll have to see exactly how things are going to change in terms of movement and positioning as we're going to kick things off from RAISY's POV.
Yeah, hasn't really got any weaponry to play with apart from the rail, which is obviously very useful, but has to avoid any sort of confrontation with cha1n, which he's done very well so far. Next round of items are up, and cha1n is pushing in, knowing he's only got a rail at hand. Smart play by cha1n, but he himself without the rail just cannot finish that good work. So a little bit back to the drawing board now.
RAISY now just continuing to keep his distance, waiting for cha1n to make the first move. Both items not segregated that much at all. So we're going to see if his items will be a gentleman's agreement or not. But RAISY just playing the sound cues for now, just trying to bait a lot of these angles, a lot of his sounds here and there, just to kind of throw cha1n off a little bit, or just make cha1n play defensively over to the mega so he can pick up the heavy quite comfortably. Nice little play there. Bit over minutes have passed. It's not like the last map, Dan, where RAISY picked up 3 or 4 frags in that first minute. Completely different style here.
Yes, definitely a lot more respect here. Coming out from RAISY's side. He also knows how good cha1n is on this map. cha1n knows the angles perfectly, plays around the rail really, really well. So cha1n, RAISY's biding his time. I'm sure once we get an opening, things will change, but that's not the case. And cha1n perhaps could have followed that up. He had the Mega to fall back on. Let's RAISY get out of there with virtually no health.
Oh, that's from RAISY as well. Just leaving that light there in case he has to fall back, which he does need to, but that last rail may help him in terms of being able to get away, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. cha1n is on the warpath here, looking to try and close his first frag out. What's going to happen though after all that? That one rail to delay him just a tad in terms of speed is the one thing that actually knows to keep RAISY alive, but again, 6 HP, almost got done in by the tick of the toxic there, but still cha1n not able to close his first frag. This has been very, very tough for him. RAISY just making sure to be a fawn on the side.
Yeah, definitely. It is unfortunate he can't finish him off, but at the same time, cha1n is managing the map very, very well.
Yeah.
He's falling back onto the Mega smartly. He's pressuring the heavy, which he's now won himself. He's kept RAISY very much on the back foot. It should be a conversion here. How RAISY has been alive for so long, I do not know. cha1n, perhaps himself, needs to show a little bit less respect. Keeler's always going to be a threat, just because you have those pineapples. Generally a big stack, but when he is so weak, please finish him off. Please finish him off. Oh my lord.
Time will come, Dan. Time will come. Patience. Well, we say patience is a virtue, but we're getting a little bit impatient at the moment. As cha1n now, look at the stack difference. One bit of aggression or one way to try and pin RAISY down. That's going to be the curtain call there for RAISY. But we'll see how this is going to go. Good first rail using the pineapples again for that defensive mechanism. It's been railed 7 HP. Mega's up in the next 7 seconds. Of course, decides to get the health bubbles first. Light isn't there, so he's available, but oh, cha1n even predicted that. Great read.
I know. I had this premonition that all the space cha1n was giving RAISY would come back to haunt him, and it nearly did. But what a read from cha1n. Fully stacked now, can keep the pressure up on the keel. As I say that, huge rockets from RAISY coming out. Decent return from cha1n himself, but RAISY's still got a decent stack. He just can't get onto the map. cha1n's got these items on lockdown. Decent split between the two, so he can rotate them. As I say, that does feel that he's got his timing a little bit off as he's just waiting around on this Mega. RAISY's not going to make a move, but it's cost him position on this heavy because he hasn't had the time to go out and pressure RAISY away from it.
I did like the turret placement as well to force RAISY to push up a little bit further in order to try and take it down, but of course took a bit of damage in the process, which was the purpose for cha1n doing that. 7 seconds until Mega. He will be able to contest heavy at the same time. Just depends what RAISY's going to do. He's going to wait for him to make the first move. Does have the turret there in place if he does go through the TP. RAISY realises this. It drops on for the LG anyway. I don't think he expected it too much. That's going to be too frantic for cha1n and nearly at the halfway stage.
Yeah, we know how good cha1n is on Veil, so this is huge in terms of the victory. The lead so far, but it is 5 minutes gone, and cha1n has been looking very, very comfortable. You can see the difference here. He understands how to play the map, the geometry, the safe positions, when to extend. I would have liked to have seen him clear up the map a little bit sooner, get some more frags, keep pressure higher, but at the same time he has to have respect for RAISY, and that's what's coming out. Good turret positioning as well. RAISY stuck between rock and a hard place, and he's very much headbutting the rock. Now cha1n himself trying to bubble RAISY. Oh, that would have been absolutely glorious. Coming off the spawn as well, and RAISY just trying to do anything at this point, fighting with the lightning gun. There's so much time before his Mega though. cha1n can basically choose when he pushes in, but that's not the right time.
Oh, dear me. It's like Mario headbutting a Goomba, wasn't it? It was just, you could see that coming from a mile off then, and I think that's when cha1n realised, like, oh dear, okay. But now, Heavy's back up again. RAISY's just securing the Heavy. Extra insurance with that rocket jump just in case. A few pineapples again just to continue. So they're having an angle. He goes for the turret, but 41 HP. cha1n can smell blood in the water once again. Looks to jump down a little bit later than necessary. RAISY does get away, but for how long? It's going to be the next question. As cha1n does pick up the Mega. Heavy's coming up in the next few seconds, which means that cha1n should have a pretty decent stack here to work with, but as RAISY went through, cha1n was well happy for that, but good direct, a little bit damage afterwards, but cha1n does survive. Picks up heavy, and oh, the LG and the drop down, but RAISY still manages to win that battle.
Oh, yeah, a really nice push by cha1n again, understanding he had some resources to fall back on. We just know the stack of the keel off the spawn is just insurmountable. cha1n nearly got the better of him, but the pressure was there from RAISY, and you know, time is slipping away, Lethal. There is a 2-frag lead, and the tempo we've seen this game played out, the way in which cha1n has ensured RAISY's not been able to get any semblance of a clean frag. The game is 100% in his hands at this point.
Certainly isn't. Heavy's been up for a good few seconds now. RAISY, of course, is going to leave it. So it takes him down of all things in the end. But cha1n, his lead is getting more comfortable as the time dwindles here, and he's got a quite good start to continue his progression on these items. But good first rail. Mega is up, but decides to dive straight on in instead. It may cost him since he had to force him to give the Mega. RAISY takes it down straight after. It's 1 HP down. Lovely stuff there. Very risky though, and that risk, sadly for cha1n, wasn't worth taking.
Yeah, some of these fights are pretty bonkers. RAISY lives to fight another day, but he is weak once again. cha1n's done a good job so far of managing his stack, capitalizing upon that. And he's going to run headfirst into a turret. There you go. Please just type for old cha1n. Oh, he's too respectful. He needed to use that chance to solidify mental dominance over his opponent, but he didn't do it with the chat function. But I want him to get a pummel, that's for sure. 3 frags to go, Lethal. 2 minutes to play. cha1n is looking really, really strong. Big item from RAISY, and he's been bounced. Can't hit the rails, so he is pretty strong. Lovely return from RAISY. And now he's in position with 15 seconds to go. cha1n can just get out of here, play the long game, and he's actually got in aggressively. A pineapple to the face is going to be his demise, and that was a huge mistake. He did not need to take that fight.
No, he didn't. He could have just backed straight off, in all fairness, considering the scenario he was in. Minute 15 left. Again, still possible. Nice to see Timmy get a couple of frags as well to his name. RAISY now just teetering back and forth here just to see if he can force out the position of cha1n, but it's got the footsteps he required in order to decide how and when to push for that heavy. But RAISY doesn't really have much time to kind of be this patient. He can for the next 10-20 seconds, but at some stage he's going to have to try and pin him on spawn straight afterwards, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we know conversions are pretty, not going to say easy, but more than manageable on a map like Vale. So RAISY realizes he has a good amount of time, but as I say that, he goes barreling through a teleporter into a couple of huge rockets and gets floated into a GG. Well played by cha1n. Said it before, this is his map of choice more often than not, and he's come out on top here today. Saw a completely different side to RAISY on the kill than we saw on map 1 and 2. A lot more passive, a lot more respectful, but at the same time, that was almost imposed from a cha1n perspective, the way in which he played the map. Really, really well played.
Yeah, it's just perfect balance, wasn't it? It wasn't overly aggressive. Well, actually, we say that there was a couple of times where he could have just backed off. But apart from that, though, the first 5 or 6 minutes was just clean. And if he played like that the entire time, just continued to frustrate RAISY in many ways. But RAISY, you know, he may have won the series 2-1. It was a shame that he had to lose on the final map of his season. But one thing he can take away is the fact that he at least lost that map now, so he can work on it, the weaknesses it needs to rectify going into, obviously, for the Quake World Championships. But yeah, it's just one of those things, but at least he took the series anyway. You can see 24 items for cha1n and 12 for RAISY.
Yeah, and one of the biggest challenges cha1n is facing consistently in these matchups is not actually strategy, it's more mechanical. There's definitely strategy he can improve upon, as I mentioned. Putting the pressure on is something he often struggles with. The fact that RAISY was able to live with virtually no health for near on 2 minutes could have come back to bite him. Unfortunately for cha1n perspective, it didn't, but another day it would have. So that's definitely something to reflect on. But we have to think lethal. We're going back to LAN. Will that be the boon he needs? Will that be the elements to kind of lay the level playing field where cha1n's more clinical nature can come out? We'll have to see, but the combat side of things is something that does worry me when I watch cha1n, because it just gives his opponents that edge. But today, in map 3, really, really well played. Not round 1 and 2 was more or less the RAISY show in terms of just pressure and style points. But cha1n should feel pretty good about himself.
Well, I'm not going to lie, Dan. I'm just looking forward to go to Romania just to annoy the hell out of you, and I'm sure you're looking forward to that, aren't you?
Well, if you turn up to broadcast one day with a black eye, this is why, people. You heard it here first. His goal in life is just to annoy. So, and he does it well. He does it well, yes. Anyway, I can only handle 30 minutes of lethal. So on that note, I think we need to go for a break so I can mentally reset and prepare myself for the next series. We'll see you then.